Shalom, shalom and welcome. Welcome to the White Rose Family Channel. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah, and these are the words I'm compelled to present before an awakening set-apart nation. To those who are drawn by the Almighty Creator, who is the beginning and the end, Yahuah, who manifests His Word, no Trinity, His Word, in the person of Yahusha, the virgin birth, the sacrifice, the resurrection, and that Yahuah sent His set-apart Spirit in Yahusha's name as written in John 14:26. You see, my brothers and sisters, when we hear the name Yahusha, it embodies the word of Yahuah. It embodies the sovereign that he manifests before us, Him, His word. So Yahusha identifies His plan for our salvation, for our rebirth. And many will grow to know that there's no Trinity. But before I get into this message, my brothers and sisters, I want to say this. The views expressed in these messages do not necessarily reflect the views of the owners, managers, shareholders, and or sponsors of this media platform. With that said, let's get into it. The final Exodus, Countdown 2023. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot that will occur. And to those who may be doubting, soon things will ramp up that will speed up the process for the need to come closer to one another as we begin to forge a gathering that man has never witnessed before in its existence. Why? Because the population of the planet, the size of Yashar'al alone, has become as the sands of the sea. We just don't know it. And when it says a remnant will be saved, my brothers and sisters, it can be tens of millions. And if you compare that to the billions on the planet, that's a remnant. So you see, you can have a remnant and a great multitude as mentioned in Revelation 7 chapter. In this segment, I want to talk about assembly size deception. Make no mistake, Yashar'al, assembling together is fruitful. If we are assembled as like minds, if we are yielding to the Spirit of the Almighty Father, refined by His Spirit and His Word that is made alive, of like mind obeying His 10 commandments, His laws, His statutes, discerning His living presence, working in us, through us, one towards another, as we are working towards obedience and yielding to the process of iron sharpening iron, yielding to when judgment begins at the house of Yahuah first. My brothers and sisters, make no mistake, end times are here, and I think we all can agree on that. But one of the problems is there are people that will want to deceive you. There are people that are just battling loneliness instead of seeking the sovereignty, the kingdom of Yahuah first, and all things be added. They're seeking to satisfy their loneliness. There are many diverse reasons people will get within an assembly or believe that the larger the assembly, the better. But this is a deception of the enemy, my brothers and sisters. To have a large assembly functioning under compromising spirits is wicked. Come with me, my brothers and sisters. It will not all be a rant, rather. Let me say this, a little leaven leavens the whole loaf. This can be considered good if the leavening is set apart, or bad and wicked if the influence is contrary to the word. Let me read this passage of scripture, Galatians 5:4-9, my brothers and sisters. Let's take a look at it. Galatians 5:4-9 reads, "You who are declared right by Torah have severed yourselves from Messiah. You have fallen from favor." See, these are those who looked at the Torah, the text. It's written, that the letter kills, but the spirit makes alive. So there are those who take the instruction of Yahuah, and they look at the text alone, not understanding how to discern the life in it. And they severed themselves from Messiah. And it says, you have fallen from favor. You see, if you think I'm just talking about them severing themselves because they're leaning on text and instruction, consider the word said yet, for we in spirit, see, it's the spirit that makes alive, by belief, eagerly await for the expectation of righteousness. For in Messiah Yahushua, neither circumcision nor uncircumcision has any strength, but belief working through love. You are running well. Who held you back from obeying the truth? That persuasion does not come from him who calls you. A little leaven leavens all the lump. Yashar'al, Yashar'al. We must be careful of who's influencing the assembly. Who's directing the assembly? Why are we with this assembly or that assembly? What are the expectations? What are our tasks? Size tends to influence people's decision all too often, my brothers and sisters. It's time to recognize that evidence with power will prove to present the end of a matter. We will begin to see what it is to witness the fruit of set apartness working in us, through us, one towards another, and through the leaders that the Almighty Father has chosen and anointed to lead his children as he directs. For the ultimate leader is indeed Yahuah himself, through his word Yahusha. This is why we say in Yahusha's name, we acknowledge his word, his guidance, his living Torah. I want to read these words, for I believe they are important, my brothers and sisters. All scripture is important, but relative to what I'm talking about, hear these words in Proverbs chapter 11, verse 14. I'm going to read it in the scripture 2009 version and in the King James version. Proverbs 11:14 in the scripture 2009 version say, without guidance, the people fall, but in a great counselor, there is safety. It depends on the counselor, my brothers and sisters. Now, the King James version read, where no counsel is, the people fall, but in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. Multitude of counselors. We must understand, my brothers and sisters, it's not just about a multitude of anybody who claim to be counselors. It's counselors that are led, that are anointed, that follow the ways of the Almighty Father as he guides us. Come, let me also present these words to you, O Yashar'al. This is a passage that is thrown often to force people into assembling together, or to coerce, to make you think you better hurry up and get in the assembly. Everyone has a time. Even Shalum said he went to Arabia and didn't neither confer with flesh and blood before going into Arabia to draw closer and stronger in the spirit of set apartness through the guidance of the Spirit of Yahushua. Let me read this though. Hebrews 10:23-25. It says, let us hold fast the confession of our expectation without yielding, for he who promised is trustworthy. And let us be concerned for one another in order to stir up love and good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging, and so much more as you see the day coming near. Here, this scripture is used to coerce people into assembling. My brothers and sisters, we have a responsibility to draw closer to the Almighty Father, to discern his living words, to know who he's directing us to be with, to examine things before jumping into an assembly. Let us also be mindful of these words in Matthew 18, verse 19 and 20. It says, again, I say to you that if two of you agree on earth concerning any matter that they ask, it shall be done for them by my Father in the heavens. Some will just throw this verse and say, if two agree. But that agree speaks volume. It means you must indeed agree that the Almighty Father is who he say he is. You must agree that his word was manifest in Yahusha's name. You must agree that it is the Spirit of Yahusha that makes petitions before the Spirit of his Father. For the Spirit of Yahusha is the word of Yahuah. And we will grow to understand that. It says, where two or three are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst. There I am in the midst. But there must be some agreement. Scriptures tell us any house divided against itself cannot stand. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, it is not about the size and numbers alone. It would be wise to discern those doing the will of the Almighty Yahuah. There will be times of great numbers and times when the numbers will be small. And I will present an example. We must be careful. The Spirit of Yahuah does not dictate a democracy, my brothers and sisters. Not at all. It directs us into the formulation of a set-apart nation ruled by the Almighty Father in the name of Yahusha, who have anointed his shepherds, his leaders, to guide. Let me present this to you, O Yashar'al. Romans 8:12 through 14. Romans 8:12 through 14. For I believe it is relevant to the assembling together. It says, so then, brothers, we are not debtors to the flesh to live according to the flesh. For if you live according to the flesh, you are going to die. But if by the Spirit you put to death the deeds of the body, you shall live. For as many as led by the Spirit of the Almighty One, these are the sons of the Almighty One. When it comes to assembling, my brothers and sisters, let us be led by the Spirit of Yahuah in Yahusha's name. There is not a blanket rule when it comes to assembly. One must discern the purpose of every gathering. We will discern, we will witness times when there will be small groups to accomplish a specific task, and we will witness a great call of coming together, that final exodus. We will witness smaller groups grow into larger groups, even larger groups, as the final exodus began to take shape. We will witness being disciplined, refined, and fashioned in the way that the Almighty Father will have us. My brothers and sisters, timing is important. Remember, timing is in the hands of the Almighty Father. Let's look at these words before we jump into an assembly or jump out of assembly prematurely. Let us watch our steps carefully. But remember these words, O Yashar'al. Ecclesiastes 3:1 through 8. It says, for every matter there's an appointed time, even a time for every pursuit under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot. Sometimes we must uproot the assembly that we're in or the location we're in and move as the Spirit guides us. A time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to loose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for battle and a time for peace. Do you know what time it is, my brothers and sisters? Are you aware what the Almighty Father is assembling you to do? I can use the word gather. I can also use the word assemble. My brothers and sisters, remember, timing, I cannot stress it enough, timing is in the hands of the Almighty Father. Let us also look at these words as I continue. Hebrews 4th chapter, my brothers and sisters. Hebrews 4th chapter reads, "For the word of Yahuah is living and working and sharper than any two-edged sword, cutting through even to the dividing of being and spirit and of joints and marrow, and able to judge the thoughts and intentions of the heart." Do the word of Yahuah work in us? Seek to discern that this is so and how he comes in the name of Yahusha. Seek to understand that Yahuah, who is spirit everywhere at all times, mention Yahusha for us to recognize his word, speaking to us, governing us, working in us, through us, one towards another. It says, "And there is no creature hidden from his spirit, but all are naked and laid bare before the eyes of him whom is our account." Discernment is a powerful thing, laid bare is by him revealing to us, my brothers and sisters. You see, when it comes to set apart assembly, our eyes will be open. We will learn to discern the thoughts of one another and forge closer together. We will yield to the discipline that comes and the reproof that comes to those who must and will fulfill the final exodus, who will fulfill being martyrs for Yahusha's name, and so much more. My brothers and sisters, do not be manipulated by some by stepping into one assembly when you should be elsewhere. If you're spending a lot of time with this camp, this group, this assembly, fellowship, pray and watch. For in some cases, many of us will be uprooted out of those groups and drawn together and see the formation of a set-apart assembly ordered by the Almighty Father. Don't stick with a group because they throw that verse saying, "Haven't seen you in a while, my brothers and sisters. You've forsaken the assembly." Don't be manipulated by words such as that. They should be asking, "How are you doing?" They should be asking the questions that draw you into the assembly if they are pursuing what is righteous. Not trying to throw a conviction at you. They can share the scripture, but there are other scriptures that say, "Be filled with the spirit of truth. Walk as we are guided by the Almighty Father." My brothers and sisters, don't let somebody say, "Well, that's what the word says." I'm just telling you what the word says. Ask them what else the word says when it comes to assembly, gathering, fellowship. Ask enough questions, my brothers and sisters, and expose whether indeed the Almighty Father is leading them to present the need to assemble with them or not. Don't be coerced. Don't be manipulated, my brothers and sisters. Here's a situation where there was a small group used to make a statement, and they assembled. There were larger numbers, but it was whittled down to 300. It is a story, I call it the story of Gideon, where 300 were assembled for a purpose that the Almighty Father laid out. Consider these words in Judges 7th chapter, verse 4 through 7. Judges 7th chapter, verses 4 through 7 reads, "And Yahuah said to Gideon, the people are still too many. Bring them down to the water and let me prove them for you there. And it shall be that of whom I say to you, this one goes with you, let him go with you. And of whomever I say to you, this one does not go with you, let him not go. So he brought the people down to the water, and Yahuah said to Gideon, everyone who laps the water with his tongue as a dog laps, separate him from everyone who bows down on his knees to drink. And the number of those who lapped, putting up their hands to their mouth, was 300 men. But all the rest of the people bowed down on their knees to drink water. And Yahuah said to Gideon, by the 300 men who lapped, I save you, and shall give Midian into your hand. Let all the other people go each to his place. When he said that, he wanted them to just go to their place and just wait. And the Almighty Father using an assembly of 300 to prove a point. And if you read that whole chapter, my brothers and sisters, you will see that the Almighty Father didn't want the people to think that they did it. So he chose a select few hundred. It is important to know when to move and under whose direction. Yashar'al in this final Exodus, there's going to be some movement. There's going to be some that's ahead of the others. There's going to be some that will be as the tip of a sword or a spear, forging a path for those coming right behind him. There will be a gathering. There will be a final Exodus. There will be the assemblies merging, smaller ones merging into larger ones, into even more large ones, until we reach that great multitude mentioned in the 7th chapter of Revelation. Remember, my brothers and sisters, timing is in the hands of the Almighty Father. Let us look at these words, for there will be times of separating. And I've shared it before, and it is important to let these words stir within you. It is when the Mashiach Yahushua was quoted saying, do not think that I've come to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace but a sword. For I've come to bring division, a man against his mother, a daughter against her mother, a man against his father, rather, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a man's enemy are those of his own household. He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me, and he who does not take up his stake and follow after me is not worthy of me. You see, my brothers and sisters, there will be some separating. There will be some coming away. There will be some purging. It would be wise to examine all things when choosing to assemble. There are those that would say, let's not talk doctrine. We are Hebrews, but not all Hebrews are set apart Hebrews. There are those that want to set the differences to the side and not seek to pray and fast and discern what is true, or come away and allow the Spirit of Yahuah to mend, to heal, to be the repairer of the breach. For that indeed will occur to the obedient and discerning ones. Let's examine things, my brothers and sisters. Here in Philippians 1:9-11, I've shared it, I'll share it over and over again, for I believe it is important that we know. When it comes to assembling, we must know how to examine, how to avoid stumbling. Philippians 1:9-11 reads, "And this I pray you, that your love might extend more and more in knowledge and all discernment, for you to examine the matters that differ, in order to be sincere and not stumbling until the day of Messiah." If we don't look at what's different and what needs to be corrected, we will be a divided assembly, stumbling and falling. We will see cliques where someone takes this side or that side. Let us learn how to pray, study, and discern. Let us know what it is to be filled with the fruit of righteousness through Yahushua Messiah, to the esteem and praise of the Almighty One. Yashar'al, my brother, my sister, my family. Keep in mind, there are warnings to the individual. There are warnings to the shepherds who mislead the assemblies. But there are also warnings to the assembly. Accountability and responsibility come in many ways, shapes, and form. Let us be mindful of such. Keep in mind, my brothers and sisters, keep in mind, there are warnings regarding being led astray. There are warnings to shepherds. Here's an example in Jeremiah 23, 1 through 3. Keep in mind there's the literal and there is the spiritual that spans far beyond the literal, my brothers and sisters, that spans to the dawn of days, to the end of days. Jeremiah 23, 1 through 3 says, "Woe to the shepherds destroying and scattering the sheep of my pasture, declares Yahuah." Can we identify whether our leaders is causing us to just be scattered because they're making things confusing, because they are walking contradictions, or because they cater to compromising practices within their group, fellowship, or assembly? It says, "Therefore, thus said the Yahuah, the Almighty One of Israel, against the shepherds who feed my people. You have scattered my flock, driven them away, and have not tended to them. See, I am punishing you. See, I am punishing you for the evil of your deeds, declares Yahuah. Therefore, I shall gather the remnant of my flock out of all the lands where I have driven them, and shall bring them back to their fold, and they shall bear and increase." Yashar'al, or Yashar'al, there are some processes that will take place in the days ahead. There are some things that will happen to bring structure, to bring the image of a set-apart nation being gathered together. Soon we will witness the 144,000 rise up. Do you think they would be the only ones walking in unity? Do you think that the Almighty Father is incapable of bringing a demonstration of his children walking in obedience? We will be held accountable individually and as an assembly, as I mentioned earlier. I want you to visit Revelations chapter 1 through 3 and discover reproof directed at assemblies. And keep in mind, sometimes assemblies project a thought, a belief, a practice, or habits, because somewhere that little leaven leavened the whole lump in the wrong way, in the wrong sense, opposite of set apartness. Somewhere along the line, a person patted themselves on the back for the good that they did and neglected to look at where they were wrong or misstep. In Revelations 1 through 3, we will see assemblies being corrected, rebuffed. And I say to you, O Yashar'al, there are leaders who would rather defend their actions, provide excuses. Ask your leader, how will they identify the reproof that's coming from the Spirit of Yahuah? What do they expect in the days ahead for that community, that camp, that group, to have their own little piece of the promised land? That's not going to occur. There will be unity. There will be discipline. There will be structure for Yashar'al. When making decisions, my brothers and sisters, as many of us are witnessing people becoming more awake, there are decisions to be made. But when making decisions based off of current size of communities, camps, fellowships, groups, etc., know that things will change as we witness judgment within the house of the Almighty Father Yahuah. You see, that judgment brings discipline and refinement. That judgment will disrupt, for there will be times to purge and come away. Prepare to witness assemblies take shape and form, some in the set-apart way, some not so much, where we will be ordered to avoid them like the plague. Remember these words, O Yashar'al. 1 Peter 4:17 through 19 reads, because it is time for judgment to begin from the house of the Almighty One. And if firstly from us, what is the end of those who do not obey the good news of the Almighty One? And if the righteous one is scarcely saved, where shall the wicked and the sinner appear? So then, those who suffer according to the desire of the Almighty One should commit their lives to a trustworthy Creator in doing good. Judgment beginning at the house of Yahuah first. We will see demonstrations of iron sharpening iron. It would be wise to never underestimate the power of a mustard seed. You might say, well, what does this got to do with anything? What does this have to do with anything? For the power of a mustard seed could be as a small group, 2 or more, 2 or 3, walking in obedience, finding that in that obedience that they find themselves growing in numbers. And we will see that in the days ahead. People who were once silos, some of us that might be alone, we will see the coming together of the obedient, the discerning ones, like mustard seeds, that will blossom and participate in a great assembling of the set-apart body of Yashar'al to complete the final exodus and more. Consider these words. They speak volume, literally and spiritually. And Yahushua said to them, because of your unbelief, for truly I say to you, if you have belief as a mustard seed, you shall say to the mountain, move from here to there, and it shall move, and no matter shall be impossible for you. Is it a mountain of unbelievers that's blocking your footsteps to the assembly that you should be in? Is it a physical mountain that he's just talking about? You see, when I say it speaks volume, mountains can be dirt and earth and rocks and plants and trees. Mountains can also be large numbers of people, a large assembly. Sometimes I've seen it, where people in the assembly will gang up on one, trying to force them to stay with their assembly, to gather with them, to be with them. Be advised, my brothers and sisters, judgment will cause changes within an assembly. A great repositioning is coming. Many surprises are coming, but Yashar'al will rise up, my brothers and sisters, strong in obedience, strong in set-apartness, strong in the power and might of the Almighty Father. Don't be pushed into assembly that you do not believe the Almighty Father is calling you to be in. Know this, the reign of Yahushua is not a democracy. It's not about majority rule. That is not how assemblies should and will be governed that are walking in obedience to the Almighty Father. Prepare, O Yashar'al, prepare to discern the true leaders, the true gatherers of set-apartness, the true promoters of the 10 Commandments, the laws, the statutes, the ordinance, the living instructions that come to us day by day as we find ourselves being guided to fulfill the final exodus and so much more. Yashar'al, my brother, my sister, my family, be prepared to witness coming away from the wrong assembly. Do not be overtaken with assembly-sized deceptions. Vet, examine every assembly before becoming linked to them. Visit the 16th chapter of Numbers, dealing with Dathan, Korah, and Abiram, and their company, those who followed them, who raised up against the leadership that was chosen by the Almighty Father. And they in their assembly, in their households, were swallowed up, killed by the power and might of the Almighty Father. Be careful, O Yashar'al. If you're in the assembly, know everything about that assembly. What is the belief? What are the true teachings? Don't jump in it because you say, I like their uniforms, or I like the women in that group. Don't have all the wrong intentions for joining the assembly. Seek to discern how the Almighty Father will indeed guide you. He may be refining you to lead the coming together of assembly. And it may grow larger than you can imagine. Or he may have you lead a smaller group till you reach that larger group and watch and witness the groups merge and witness the final exodus. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al. Yeah, there's safety in numbers. There's even better safety if the numbers are indeed obedient, discerning ones of the Almighty Father. My brothers and sisters, assembly size, don't get in it because it's large. Some cases, some of these assemblies will be as a group falling off a cliff with you in the midst of them. In some cases, you will witness deliverance from assemblies that had a stronghold that was not of the Almighty Father. Enough said on this, Yashar'al, but in these coming days, it would be wise to know what assembly the Almighty Father is directing you to be a part. Do they know you? Do you know them? Do you know one another? Or are you in the bastion of compromising assemblies? There are assemblies with little cliques. There are people who say, you're not going to find a perfect assembly. Don't let those words stop you from yearning and hungering and desiring to be where the Almighty Father wants you to be. Can't stress it enough. Pray and watch, for those that will be left behind, in some cases, will be in large numbers. And those that are gathered together will find themselves with even larger numbers. Pray on the matter. If ever a time there was to pray and discern where you should be and with whom, that time is now. On that note, thank you for your patience, your tolerance, your pursuit of set-apartness. I pray that you're able to discern and make the right choices, to step into the right assemblies, to know when to move, and with whom, and with what resources, what direction, and how to recognize what the Almighty Father is saying to you, to the leadership, to the assembly. On that note, O Yashar'al, choose wisely, for in some cases, the choice will be a final one. Shalum. Shalom, my brother, my sister, my family.